Bhakti Chala Mala Girivaranta Bhakti Chala Girivaranta Jai Gopi Janavalla Girivaranta Yashodanandam Vajajanarandam Yashodanandam Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Iskcon BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Shnupad Paramahansa Parivajika Acharya Ashtotar Shishima. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayana Namaskritya. Narang Shaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswati Vyasam. Tato Jayavadiri. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhagreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What does it say the title of the chapter is? 3-5. No, the title. The title of the chapter. Say again? The title of the chapter at the top of the page there? Vidura talks with Maitreya. Vidura talks with Maitreya. Okay, thank you. On this 13th day of October 2017 in Phoenix, Arizona, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 3, Chapter 5, Vidura's talks with Maitreya. Text number 48. Okay. Tattevayam lokasasrikshayadya. Tattevayam lokasasrikshayadya. Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya.
Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Sarve viyukta svabhihara tantram.
Sarve viyuktaha svabhihara tantram.
Sarve viyukta svabhihara tantram.
Yukta svabhihara tantram.
Nashaknamastat pratihartavete.
Nashaknumastat pratihartavete.
Nashaknamastat pratihartavete.
Nashaknumastat parihartavete.
Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya.
Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Sarve viyukta svabhihara tantram.
Sarve viyuktaha svabhihara tantram.
Nashaknamaste pratihartavete.
Nashaknamastat patihartavete.
Please chant.
Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya.
Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma.
Sarve viyuktaha svadhiratma tantram.
Sarve viyukta svabhihara tantram.
Nashaknumastat pratihartavete.
Namastat pratihartavete. Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya. Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma. Sarve viyukta svabhihara tantram. Nashaknamastat pratihartavete. It's okay. Anyone else? Chant. Go ahead. Tatte. Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya. Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma. Sarve yukta svabhihara tantram. Nashaknamastat pratihartavete. Ladies? Tattevayam lokasya srikshayadya. Tvayanusrishtas triviratma bhisma. Sarve viyukta svabhihara tantram. Nashaknamastat pratihartavete. Tat. Therefore. Te. Your. Vayam. All of us. Loka. World. Srikshaya. For the sake of creation. Adya. O original person. Tvaya. By you. Anusrishtaha. Being created one after another. Shibihi. By the three modes of nature. Atmabihi. By one's own. Sma. In the past. Sarve. All. Viyuktaha. Separated. Svabhihara tantram. The network of activities for one's own pleasure. Na. Not. Shaknamaha. Could do it. Tat. That. Pratihartave. to award
to award
te unto your. Translation. O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature. And for this reason, we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure. Please repeat. O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature. And for this reason, we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure. Purport. The cosmic creation is working under the harmony world. I was born of ignorance, but opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my business to him and all of PRABHU. Is it close that phone word or somehow or other? Thank you. So this comes at the end, near the beginning of the creation. And they've just got through glorifying Krishna's lotus feet. Some beautiful verses. And now they're praying for some guidance, how to draw their activities together so that they can work concertedly for the creation and the maintenance of the material world. The demigods are all servants of the Lord, although they're tinged by the modes of nature. And so they're not on the level of the highest pure devotees. They're commonly referred to as Sakama devotees, but they're devotees nonetheless. The perfect example is Indra. We know the pastimes Indra, where he completely lost his mind, really, during the Govardhan Leela. He forgot his position as a servant of Krishna, and he practically tried to annihilate the coward community simply because they neglected to offer him his due tax, so to speak, and worship. So, but then he came to his senses after Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill, and he offered these wonderful prayers, and basically apologizing, forgiveness, and all these things. But then again, he loses it. When Krishna goes to the heavenly planets with Satyabhama to retrieve the earrings of Aditi, and also to get the Parijata tree for Satyabhama, no, you can't take the Parijata, and it's another battle. At that point, Sukadev condemns him because he's constantly forgetting his position because of his passionate nature and because of his because he's under the modes of nature. So what happens here, it's a perfect example. When there's no center, when the center is not Krishna, and we're acting according to our own whims, according to our own desires, as dictated by the modes of nature, there's inevitably clash. And human beings get together realizing that this is the state of nature, so to speak, of all against all. We're all becoming destroyed, and there's really no prosperity, just a lot of fear and quarrel. So we gather together in really artificial groups in which we try to harmonize our labor for the common good. This is how we have tribes, this is how we have states, this is how we have nations. Right? And then after the war, World War II, they said, this can't go on. You know, 80 million people killed, Europe devastated, and all these things going on. We have to have a United Nations. And this is attempt to have some kind of a unity among nations so there wouldn't be so much war. But it's failed. Prabhupada was oftentimes he would say, in spite of the United Nations, what's happening is the flags are increasing. In other words, you bring in so many other nations, but there's still separate identities, separate interests, and there's been wars ever since World War II. Little ones, big ones. So what is that central interest by which we can all agree to act and which will bring happiness to all? Krishna. That's the only way there could be peace in the world. Because when one centers his interest on serving God according to God's wishes and under the guidance of his representatives, harmony. Because everyone, first of all, sees everyone differently. The problem is in the material conception of life, we see things superficially. Some color difference, some language difference, born in a different place. Oh, that's an alien. That person is, I don't have any relation with that person. You remember the verse, Bhagavad Gita? The person who's wise, vidya abhaniya sampanne, brahmane gabhastani, shuni china chaiva supakecha, pandita samadarshanaha. That the one who is a real pandit, learned person, in other words, understands that we're pure souls, we're all part and parcel of Krishna, and he's the Supreme Father, and we're all one in one family. The superficial differences are not critical. Then he sees the learned and humble Brahmin, he sees the dog eater, the elephant, on an equal level. Not that he treats them all the same, because they have their own different conditionings under the modes of nature. But that such a person sees the essential oneness, the spiritual oneness. And therefore he doesn't try to harm or exploit unnecessarily these persons. This is the basis of harmony. This is the basis of peace in the world. And Srila Prabhupada proved it by going all over the world and engaging people of all nationalities and races and all kinds of in Krishna service. And beautiful, you know, many of you have been to Mayapur, maybe if some of you have come from Mayapur. And during that festival, there's the Russians and there's the Chinese and the Americans and all kinds of nationalities and having big kirtan together. And nobody is thinking, oh, there's a Chinese Vaishnava. Look at that, there's a Russian Vaishnava. Everyone is chanting Hare Krishna. We were united on the platform of glorifying the Lord. So the demigods are asking Krishna to please organize them. In other words, we are your creatures, one after another under the influence of modes of nature. And because we're under various modes of nature, different combinations, we're separated in action. But their duty is to be concerted in action. This is the only way the universe can be created and maintained. And obviously, it requires harmony between the rulers, those who are in control. They're praying, they're hoping that Krishna can provide that guidance, that inspiration, that intelligence by which they can work concertedly for the common good. This is also another feature of the demigods. They're suras, they're not asuras. And so they, besides their wanting to be rulers and having that aspect, they're really concerned that things go on nicely in the universe and on the earth, so that people can prosper. You know, when Yudhishthira was the king, it's described that the rains came at the right time and just the right amount, and the cows were so happy that they were pouring milk on the ground, you know, and there was harmony everywhere. When there's a real saintly king or leader, then even nature cooperates, because she's under the rule of the demigods. When the world is overrun by demonic forces, then you have this natural disturbances and things going on, and wars and pestilence all going on, because that's the nature of the reaction of the controllers, is that they're not happy with how things are going on, and so they react that way. So in Bhagavad Gita, you remember in the 3rd chapter, we talked about karma yoga, and Krishna there has a little section about the need for sacrifice. Everything is based on yajna, right? Yajnartat kamano yatra, bhokayam karma bandhana. Whatever you do in this world that is not in the mood of sacrifice for the Supreme simply binds one to this world. It keeps you coming back again and again. So that this idea of yajna is emphasized there. And he says at the beginning of creation, this was the means by which the praja, the citizens on the earth, would recognize the higher powers through yajna. And in this way, the demigods would be satisfied, they would pour down necessary rain, provide the necessities. So Krishna says, if you want to eat, annan bhavanti bhutani, parjanjana samava, then you have to have the right rains in the right proportion. But the rains are coming from sacrifice. Sacrifice is coming from your prescribed duties. Prescribed duties are mentioned in the Vedas. The Vedas are coming from Brahman, from Krishna. And therefore, everything rests in the instructions of God. That's where the unity can come. That's where the inspiration can come to practice in a concerted way the glorification of God, which is, after all, what this movement is all about. So in the present age, we're witnessing what does Kali Yuga mean? Kali means quarrel and fighting and discord. We see it everywhere, not just in between nations, but within nations, even within families. Races, racism is on an upsurge, this crazy president. So that's just a lot of discord based on superficial differences, based on birth and race and education, all these different things. So Krishna consciousness is an attempt. There's two tracks. I like to bring this out, that we personally have a motive to perfect our lives, right? This is the impetus of everyone, particularly who comes to Krishna consciousness. Is that, I want to achieve self-realization. I read this book and it talks about the notion of bliss, about Ananda, about going back to Godhead, about ending all misery. I want that. That's fine. But we have this personal motivation. But you soon learn in Krishna consciousness that in order to really succeed on that level, there has to be a broader vision and a broader focus. And that is that we're helping others to come also. Because it's not long, a matter of weeks really, if that, before you feel the benefit of Krishna consciousness. The chanting, the prasadam, the association, all of these uplift the spirit. Oftentimes it's like a cloud lifting. People come on all kinds of states, depression and confusion and desperation, and if they simply take to the process and associate, then it's like that lifts quickly and your spirits lift because you're in contact with Krishna. Well, that benefit, that's just the beginning. Then we hear read the books and we understand this is really the only hope for humanity. Don't forget, the whole Bhagavatam was spoken, right? It was first written down by Vyasa, and then it was spoken by Shukadev for the benefit of Kali Yugites. You see? Vyasadeva was seeing that what he had written so far was not adequate to help the coming age. The people would be too confused. So he writes the Mahabharata, right? Sri Shudra Dvijabandhu Nam Trayana Shuddhi Gochara. This is explained in the first canto. That he wrote all the Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra, the different Puranas, the Upanishads. All that had been written. And but they said, this Kali Yuga population, they can't understand Vedanta and all these things. So let me write the Mahabharata. They love stories, right? And they'll read those stories and they'll get absorbed, and then right in the middle of that, they're paying attention, they're absorbed, there's the Bhagavad Gita. And in this way, they'll get the benefit. Prabhupada explains it this way. But even the Mahabharata, has so many things you read. I remember I was working on this Mahabharata. At one point, the BBT was going to publish a Mahabharata. Vidyananda was translated, it had been edited, I re-edited and looked at it. And so I'm working on this Mahabharata. It's quite vast, And so this is the Adi Kanda I'm looking at. And what do I find? I'm reading about the different planets and the world of the snakes. There's a world of Nagas. And again, pages of names of the snakes. I'm thinking, do I really need to know this as a devotee? Is this going to help? On it carefully. But the point is, there are many things in the Mahabharata that are not directly related to Krishna Bhakti and things that you don't know. Bhagavad Gita is, of course, the essence of it, and the stories of the Pandavas, Queen Kunti, it's very enlivening. But the point is that Vyasadeva was dissatisfied after all of this. He'd even written the Mahabharata. And he's sitting there in his ashram, he's troubled. He said, I don't feel that I've really done what I need to do for the benefit of these Kali Yugites. You see, something's missing. So in his meditation, Narada Muni comes, his spiritual master. And he chastises him. Do you really think that the body and mind are proper objects of self-realization? In other words, he's telling him, you haven't sufficiently and exclusively glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his devotional service, and his devotees, and his incarnations. You need to write that book. And so you sit in meditation, and you realize Krishna's pastimes, and you'll be inspired how to write. And so he sits down. There's a very important section, 7th chapter, 1st canto. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite yamale apasyat purusham purnam mayam cha hirapashriyam. And so he has a realization of Krishna by Bhakti Yoga. He sees the Supreme Person, the complete person, and he sees also Mahadevi behind, under his shelter. You see? And then it goes on, continue to have it. Anatopasam yaya sammohito jiva atmanam chuganatmakam paropimanate anartam yatkipam chavipandik. By that material energy, the living beings, in the conditioned living beings, are bewildered. And although they are by nature transcendental to this material energy, they become bewildered, and they perform activities which create suffering. And they get filled with anarthas. Yes, sammohito jiva atmanam chigunatmakam paropi. Although they're transcendental by nature to these three modes, anartham, they suffer anarthas due to their material activities, because they're in ignorance of that. And then they're further in ignorance. Anarthopasamam sakshad bhakti yoga mahochaje. And these anarthas, what they don't know is that these anarthas can be completely mitigated and wiped away by the process of bhakti yoga, pure devotion service. Lokasya janato, but the people don't know that, and therefore this wise sage Vyasadeva wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. And yasyam vaishyamanayam Krishna paramapurushe bhakti upatadejata shoka moka bhayava. Just by hearing this Bhagavatam, by oral reception, vaishyamanayam, the devotion to Krishna sprouts up in the heart. The shoka moka bhayava, destroying all lamentation, illusion, and fear, and giving great joy. So this is how the Bhagavatam came to be written. Now, wholly and solely deals with Supreme Personality of Godhead, his devotional service, his devotees, all of these subject matters that form the content of all of our books. And what is the one of the byproducts, if you will, of the great, important byproducts of this process, is that it brings unity. I remember when I was in big temples like LA or New York during the 70s, we'd have 100 devotees in LA, 200, 250 devotees, and I was seeing the vast diversity. But I was also realizing that if it wasn't for Krishna and Krishna consciousness and Srila Prabhupada, I would never know these people. I would never associate with this vast variety of different people. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Hari Ki Jai, Shri Gauranatai Hari Ki Jai, Shri Nati Gopal Ki Jai. Gopal Nati. So Krishna consciousness, the philosophy and practice, has this great power to break down these superficial differences and bring us together, really on the platform of Harinam Sankirtan. When we're all together chanting the holy name, these superficial differences obviously mean nothing. You're in this big kirtan in Mayapur, and you're not thinking, oh, there's a Russian Vaishnava, there's a Chinese Vaishnava. No, there's a kind of a Kshatriya person, he's kind of a Shudra. No, nothing like that. The Hari Bol, Hari Krishna, you see. This is Lord Chaitanya's great gift. Completely blasts away all of these superficial differences and brings us to the platform of ecstatic joy on the basis of Krishna consciousness. It stops, and sadhana is over and everything. And you have to do your duties. You can work harmoniously for the benefit of Krishna, for the central purpose of maintaining the temple and the grounds and giving the process to others. Because you have experienced directly the benefit of it. Your faith has become strong because you have realization. So this process is also going on in the creation. You can imagine what a job that is. Any authorities can tell you how difficult it is to begin a temple, maintain a temple, right? What to speak of expand a temple. It's a daily affair where you have to marshal so many energies and get so many people inspired and to work and all these different things. So imagine a whole universe like that. That's why Brahma needs 4 heads. You got so much worry going on. How to populate. Remember the story at the beginning of the creation? So many false starts, right? From his mind came this one, all the demons, they're trying to eat him or have sex with him or something. He had to discard that and start over again. Remember? So and then things go, and then to populate, right? So from his mind comes the 4 Kumaras. He says, "Oh, these are my children now. No, they don't want to have any part of it. They're going to take sannyas. They don't want to get entangled. So they keep themselves by their pages as little children. They're very ancient scholars, but they look like little children." Brahma becomes angry. What happens then? Remember? From between his eyebrows, he becomes angry, and Shiva comes out. Really comes out. So there's all of this frustration. It's not smooth. When you're dealing with the material energy, there's always going to be some hassle, some problem. Lokanath Swami just wrote a book. I think Bombay is my office. And in there is a lot of the account of how Bombay, land came, the struggle for the land, the epic struggle Prabhupada went through, just to beat back, I mean, he was able by his purity, by the sincerity of devotees to marshal the sincere bhaktas in the Bombay area to come and defend the property and to, countervail the force, and finally it was successful. Of course, Juhu was so magnificent now. But that's what it takes. Prabhupada was ready to fight like anything. He was a warrior, really. Coming to America, even in India, so many difficulties publishing the books, established Jhansi, it gets taken away, never giving up. This is a great inspiration for us for all time. The Iskcon devotees, those who come in the line, who are part of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, they can take the greatest inspiration from Prabhupada's own life and his activities, what to speak of his words. So that's what it takes in order to serve Krishna in this material world. He's looking for that sincerity, of that determination, to keep the enthusiasm, determination, to work over barriers, always having faith. Krishna will help us, and just like he helped Prabhupada. So that's the message here that I'm getting, is that these demigods, although they're in such an exalted position, they're feeling that they're not organized yet. Any magnificent endeavor like creation, requires great organization. It requires everybody to be on the same page, right? Coordination, differently manifested by the different modes of nature. And that's really what we pray for. When we revere Srila Prabhupada, we worship Srila Prabhupada and the disciplic succession, and all the way back, Krishna himself, we're praying that we serve you, and that the service is a concerted effort. That in serving you, we also are able to serve each other and to bring everyone up together. That's should be part of our mood in enacting our as we go through our daily duties, which include that we have accepted. It's all part of our participating. It's kirtan, if someone off key or distracted, that can be in a kirtan. Happens, not too seldomly. But when everyone is chanting together and the drums are really together and the percussion, energy, because of the focus and because of the unity, pervades every aspect, whether it's cooking or worship or sankirtan or maintaining the temple or whatever. When we work in concert with the same mood of sincere service, trying to please the superiors and Krishna, then everything is very harmonious. And we can get an inkling a little about what the spiritual world is about. Because what's going on in the spiritual world? Why are we not in the spiritual world now? Of course, being in the temple, spiritual world. But we're trying to get back to Goloka, right? Back home, back to God. So what is the what is happening there? Completely unified in serving Krishna for his pleasure, right? Not just those in human form, the cows, the insects, everything. I was sharing something about the bees. The bees come in again and again. I often go to Alatra, and a few years ago they installed the most magnificent Krishna outside of Vrindavan, very, very attractive. So I was desiring a way to have some kind of verses glorifying Krishna and Balaram. There's some in the Bhagavatam, certainly. Something by the Goswamis, This song, I think I mentioned the songs in the Gopal Champu by Deva Goswami, and just magnificent. And really, I realized after studying this song that it's based on the Venu Gita, based on the songs of the gopis. But instead of, in the 21st chapter, after the rainy season, the autumn season has come, and Krishna is entering the forest, beautiful verses, and then the gopis are singing. They're at home, and they're singing of him in the forest. They're so absorbed that they're feeling like they're right next to him. Think about Govardhan Hill. This is a famous verse. You should know it. Hantai mandala hadidasya vayo yad Rama Krishna charanaspada pramona. No. How's it go? Pani Yatsuya Vasakanda the Kanda. So they're saying Handayam, this hill. Ayam Adri means this hill. The best of the servants of, because it knows how to serve its servants. By providing for the boys and Krishna, secret places of the caves in order to play during the rainy season, and little bulbs that they can eat for snacks. Cows, providing these special gourmet grasses that they can feed on, and these crystal clear waters. So in this way,